Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Divine Feminine Healers podcast. It is your host, Angelica, the intuitive marketing coach. If you're new here, I've been an intuitive healer for the past 10 years as an Ayurvedic practitioner, Kundalini yogi, and meditation instructor, and Reiki master. And in order to make this a business along the way, I've learned how to come up with a marketing strategy and grow my business via Instagram. So now I help women do the same. I feel so passionate about this because I see so many healers who are so gifted and experienced, but don't necessarily have the tools to make a profit from their business. And I see all these beautiful experienced healers like needing to share their gifts and just needing to find a way to market themselves intuitively in a way that feels really good, that doesn't feel sticky and salesy. So that is what this podcast is bringing a lot of business practices. Now, the other piece of this podcast is there's a lot of spiritual wisdom because if you are building a spiritual business, you can't negate that part of you. It's just embedded in who you are in your DNA, and your business needs to follow that way. And part of what I teach the women in my membership, also teaching them how to create marketing strategies to get in new clients, it's also about tending to their constant healing journey and being aware of what's going on in the sky and how this can relate to us, our relationships, and our business. It's so important and it really guides our business. So today is just going to be talking all about what this last full moon brought and why this may feel like a really intense time. Literally every single person I've talked to, whether it's a random stranger on the plane to my absolute best friends, we are all really going through it right now. And let's just take a couple steps back and talk about it in terms of what's happening in the sky. So we just had our first eclipse season of the year, and eclipse seasons are known to bring up a lot of shadows. That's literally what's happening in the sky. It creates a shadow effect when the sun and the moon and the earth all aligned. So you may notice that like things are being brought up right now that feel really hard to see, things that you don't want to see. And so, of course, any type of tendency that you have to that is going to show up. Do you freeze? Do you flight? Do you fawn? Or do you fight? Those trauma responses are going to come up, and those are so uncomfortable, right? We don't want to fall back on those patterns. We can be really hard on ourselves during this time, but know that this stuff, it's really good that it's coming up to the surface because it's coming up that needs to be healed. That's like a good thing. What I think is honestly the most terrifying is when we're in the healing journey and it feels stagnant and nothing is changing and we're sticky. I'm actually excited sometimes when these things come up, as painful as they can be, because I'm like, okay, energy is moving and energy is shifting. And that's exactly what's happening right now. In the Northern Hemisphere, we're obviously still transitioning to spring, and nature is showing us change is here, transformation is here. I don't know about you. I like love change, right? It sounds like it has a positive connotation to it. But what needs to happen actually for change to occur? You have to let go of your old life and you have to dive into the unknown, trusting that a better life is there waiting for you. I don't know about you, but that's usually scary as hell when I go through a lot of transformation processes. It's because it's literally a death, which can actually feel like an ego death, like a part of you is really dying. And so, I talked about this on my Instagram this week that there's different phases of this process that we go through. And so I'm seeing with my clients that we're all in different phases of this change. And I related this to the manifestation process because what is manifestation other than creation, other than letting go of something to call something in? It's all saying the same thing. So, if you're calling in a new opportunity, experience, relationship, environment, whatever it is right now, you're going to have to go through change in order to call that in. So let's talk about the three stages that you could be in right now. The first stage that you could be in is the awareness stage. This is when you suddenly realize you have a vision for yourself, a goal that you're going towards, and this desire that you want to go through. Some of us, this awareness first comes in what we need to let go. We realize, like, if it's an unhealthy, toxic relationship, if we hold on to this relationship, we're not going to move forward in our life. Sometimes it's that toxic job where we're like, if I literally stay at this job, I'm going to wither and burn out and not be a shell of a human. So the awareness part can often feel the most painful because suddenly it's like the veil is lifted. And that's what the eclipses just showed us. The veil is now lifted. We can't unsee what is under the surface right now. Right now, we're bringing awareness of the things that we need to let go of, and then we're also seeing the vision of what we're moving towards. So that is the first step. If you're in that first stage, incredible because it is extremely brave to admit what you have to let go of. It's not easy. And know that you are worthy of your future vision. Who I find is the most difficult to see to be in this process is usually my kappa healers. These are like my earthy signs. And that's because kappas don't like change. They like comfort zones. And when they know that they bring awareness to the things in their life that they've been avoiding, it's like, oh, I'm going to do everything to not see it. And I'm going to grip onto my old life as much as I can because I don't want to admit that I need to make changes in my life because I know it's going to be uncomfortable. And I know that change is going to make me go into the unknown, which feels very scary for me. It's all very valid. But if you're definitely an earth sign and you're stuck at this point of the change and transformation, start to make a list and bring awareness. What is the universe telling you to move out of your life? Sometimes it takes care of it for you. So if you've recently lost your job or a relationship, be like, thank you for doing that for me, literally, because that was really hard for me to do. Other times, you have to be cognizant enough to make that decision for yourself. Now, the second phase of the manifestation change process is actually making the changes. It's actually being in the process of it. And this is why we think could be a linear path of, oh yeah, I just have to let that thing go and then I can call that thing in. And it never works like that, right? It's actually like a squiggly line, right? That's the process of growth of we take 3 steps forward and then we take 2 steps back. So this is us constantly now bringing awareness to, okay, letting go of this thing is actually attached to multiple habits and multiple belief patterns that I have to constantly sift through. And there's a constant awakening of, oh my God, there it is again. Oh my God, I'm doing that thing again. And with this can come a lot of shame. With this can come a harsh inner critic because you're like, how could you keep making the same mistake again? Why were you not aware of that? There's so many red flags. Like, there's a lot of shame and blame that happens in this process. And it can feel especially difficult for my fiery ones who tend to be really hard on yourselves. You're used to having all the answers. So when you're in a spot when you don't, you feel it's really hard to love yourself. Like, let's just be honest. Like, it's hard to be like, how did I not see that coming? Right. But this is so natural. It's such a natural part of the human process, is this non-linear growth. So know that no matter what, even during your setbacks, you are moving forward regardless, because if you had to learn a lesson 10 times, 30 or 100, and each time I guarantee you, you learned a little bit more. Even if it feels like you weren't actually moving forward in your life, you learned something, and that is wisdom behind it. So bring so much love and compassion when you're in this stage of the process. And then the last phase is the surrender phase. So this is when you've been like, I've peeled back so many layers. I've said no to the things that are really toxic in my life. I've said yes to the things that are. I've been on a good one for a while. What the hell? Where's my manifestation? Why aren't I in the next stage of my life right now? This is a great place to be in, right? Because things are feeling a lot better than they were before. You're not in that situation anymore, but it's like you're not quite where you want to be. This is where there's a lot of gripping. There's a lot of like controlling of like, well, what's it going to look like? Um, am I going to get my needs met? Is it really possible for me? Like, there's a lot of doubt that can come in right away. And so this doubt is really mirroring a lack mindset. You somehow, there's still just a little bit of you that doesn't believe that it's possible for you because in those moments you're having the self doubt, right? But at the same time, you're still having these like abundant moments where you're like, I know it's possible for me, right? It's like kind of like teetering. The last thing is to actually surrender what your initial vision was that you had for yourself, because the universe likes to surprise us and we can never usually predict the thing that we really want most of the time. Most of the time, you have to let go of that vision and surrender that I trust the universe so much that I'm willing to let go of the thing that I think that I need to have and to give the universe to give me actually what I know I need, because I'm admitting that there's a lot of things in this world that I don't know and I trust the universe. And with that form of surrender comes a lot of release of control. And in order to stay in that surrender moment, it takes a lot of diligence. There takes a lot of like, oh my God, like at a certain point, I've been doing all this hard work, but now I kind of have to release it. Like, what does that even look like? Everyone's surrender process is really different. For me, what helps me surrender is giving really graciously and giving with a generous heart. So I notice that I'll even have like donation opportunities pop up when I'm in the surrender phase because the universe is like, are you abundant? Are you feeling in lack? And there's been time in my life where I felt like I was not in a financial position to be giving and donating. I was like, oh my gosh, like, no, I have absolutely no more dollars to give. Like, I can't. And when I hear Spirit's voice in those moments, do never be afraid to give generously. It always comes back to you tenfold. When you really trust that message and believe it, then you understand the laws of the universe and that thing comes in a lot quicker. So giving with a generous heart, whatever it is, if you're in your business calling in something, give away little mini consultations or free sessions for people or free content. Like the more that you can give with a gracious heart, it keeps you in that abundant mindset and that abundant state. Of course, don't take it too far for my people who don't have boundaries. I'm not saying sell yourself for free, but give graciously where you can within your energy constructs, and you will see that manifestation come in a lot quicker. Okay, I hope that was helpful for everyone. Anyone who's like in this whole process, just to be like, okay, I'm at this stage right now, and this is how I can get out of it. Usually, the last stage is hardest for my vatas because they tend to have a really hard time kind of like surrendering. And there's a bit of fear of going into the unknown because they don't trust themselves to really surrender. They're like, is that thing really possible for me? Can I really trust myself? Like vatas, it's all about self trust. So, especially having self-trust practices during this time is really important. For me, it's always the body, so making sure I'm taking care of my body, eating healthy, working out, meditating though, like emotional healing and tending to that is like so important for me too during this process, and tending to my spiritual practices. So I hope there's little nuggets in each of those for everyone. I also want to talk about other things that are happening to the sky that can just give us some like nice little validation of like, you know what, we're all going through this together. Mercury just got out of retrograde on April 24th. Now, some astrologers will say there is a shadow period where you're going to feel the effects a week or so after, as we kind of, because what's really happening during retrograde is the planet's just slowing down. And then it kind of like, when like you see a train and it kind of slows its wheels, and it takes a while until it comes to a stop, and then it got us, and until it starts going up again and it slows up and it goes. It's the same kind of thing with the planets, right? It takes a bit for it to kind of get its mojo back and get up its energy. So that's kind of how Mercury retrograde, I see it too, is like it kind of takes a while for things to come back online. So if you're like, what gives? It's April 25th, and my internet was going out today. Hello, happened to me on a session today. Just know that it takes time, and you may be feeling the effects a little bit after. Mercury retrograde is showing us where we need to lean into our communication skills a little bit more. So using your voice, especially as an entrepreneur, if you felt like you've not been wanting to put out content, you have not wanted to put out your face on it, Instagram, you want to been hiding, that comes up during Mercury retrogrades. Mercury retrogrades also can come up with communication with past relationships. So if you've had issues with past relationships, that comes up to the surface. Exes randomly texting you during Mercury retrograde. That's why that comes up to the surface. Anything to do with technology. Yes, that can definitely arise with Mercury in retrograde. Now, Mercury's not trying to punish you. There's always lessons in everything. He's trying to get you to slow down so that you can see this area of your life that maybe it needs to do some dusting. You need to clean off something. So I know for myself, if like things are slowing down for me, it's literally telling me you need to pause and slow down. Like, whoa, pump the brakes. You're doing too much. Pull it back. Do less. Literally, I will see this happen like with my car breaking down, with my computer. And initially I'm like, what did I have so much to do right now? Like, no. And the more that you can accept it and be like, this is happening for a reason to slow down, like, let me just lean in and try to get what insight would tell me and why it might be helpful for me right now to slow down. So much wisdom behind that. Now, another shift that's happening is Jupiter, which is a massive planet for us. Jupiter and Saturn, the biggest planets, so they have the biggest influence on us, is moving from the sign of Aries into Taurus on May 1st. It's a huge shift, right? From a fire sign to Taurus. I think this is actually going to be super beneficial for us. I implore you to really just think about it in terms of your relationship to Jupiter, which is your relationship to abundance, spiritual teaching, spirituality in general, mentors, teachers, support, and expansion. That all has to do with Jupiter. So in this past year, it's been in the sign of Aries, which is very much about new beginnings, manifestation, motivation, self-starting, all of these very fiery things. So how is your relationship with abundance, with expansion, with teachers and spirituality been related to that energy this year. Just do some reflection, like, oh, how has that shifted? Like, that's going to give you incredible insight. And then when it moves into Taurus, it's going to be much more grounded. And Taurus is very much to do with materialism and growth and money and our finances. So I see this is actually a really fruitful time for our abundance and ability to expand, especially spiritual entrepreneurs. I think it's going to be a really fruitful year for us. Jupiter just like giving us all the blessings. If you are ruled by Sagittarius or Pisces, you're going to feel the shift the most. That means your sun, moon, or rising sign is in those signs, according to Vedic astrology. Or if you have Jupiter in your first house, you're really going to feel this shift. So I think it's going to be marvelous for those signs. I'm a Taurus rising, so I'm pretty excited to have Jupiter transiting my first house, and to give me all the blessings in my first house this year. Lastly, this full moon landed in Libra. Libra is all about relationships, beauty, and can also be related to business. And it specifically landed in the star sign of Swati Nakshatra. Swati is all about changing the winds and going along with transformation and change. It's represented by this young tree that has little baby roots, and it waves pretty violently in the wind because it's just like a little baby, right? And it feels like it's really like moving with the wind. So, what that says about us right now is we're just planting new roots into something, but we're easily swayed in all these directions. There's a lot of change that is happening. I mean, it's actually hilarious how many themes of change and transformation are happening in the sky right now. Like, pretty much everything that's happening in the sky right now says change in so many ways. So I saw this full moon as a huge predictor of what are the changes happening in your life right now and how can you trust them. So the reason why I took us through that whole change process is that you can really start to move through these changes with more ease, because I know initially when you see change, a lot of us can run and hide, we can avoid, pretend like we don't want it, like it's not there. But it's upon us and it's happening. So you will suffer if you don't go along with these changes that are naturally happening in your life. You get more ease when you naturally go with the changes. When you go with nature, it's actually less resistance because you're surrendering to that process. I've seen a huge theme with relationships coming up right now. So if you're like, what on earth is going on? Whether that's a romantic, a business, familial relationship, is all being put up in visibility right now. So know it's a time to work on those relationships, what's being brought to light, and go through that process of what you're in, of where you need more boundaries, what you're letting go of in those relationships. It doesn't have to be the relationship itself. It could be the identity or what was once of that relationship, and then what you're moving towards. Make sure that that's really clear. And um, yeah, take it step by step, put one foot in front of the other. Sometimes it's not clear as to what that change has to be just yet. You just got to take it one foot in front of the other. And sometimes it is quite of a rude awakening and you're just like pulling the wool over your eyes. And it's like, I'm seeing everything and I can't unsee it. And there's no turning back now. So I'm holding you all in so much love and compassion, no matter what stage of this change process that you're in. We're really going through it. Like I said, I literally had a conversation with 10 plus people just in this past weekend of what they are going through, of toxic relationships. And it's heavy. It's really heavy stuff. I've been a healer for so long and I can see all these patterns of people who exercise power over other people and try to take away their power. Like it it kills me inside. And it also makes me reflect and see how a natural part of this process has to be. In order for you to really step into your power, sometimes you have to be broken down. You have to get that reflected back to you to step into your work, to tell that person, no, I'm not doing this anymore, and to choose a different way. And it's amazing and incredible to see what can happen on the other side of it. I simply love witnessing the women in my membership do this themselves, whether it really is a relationship. Sometimes it's client relationships, sometimes it's partnerships and collaborations, and nothing makes me more excited than when you can really step into your power. And as a lot of you know, like I had to do that with my own business relationship, which was one of the hardest things that I ever had to go through, is letting go of a friendship, in order to step into my power and speak my voice. It's not easy. Like if you think it's supposed to be easy, it's not. It's probably the thing that you want to do last. And that's when you kind of know that it's the thing that you have to do, right? It's like it's the last thing I would want to do ever, but I'm doing it. because I will not neglect myself and my power and what I need to do and exercise my voice, and I'm going to do it anyways. So if you're in that position, I hear you so loud and clear. I feel so passionate about this, and you're not alone. You don't have to be alone. If you're on this spiritual quest and you want more love and support, I have a beautiful membership of spiritual women who are on this path, all doing the same way, all going through these things together, lifting each other up, starting their own businesses because that's where they find their power, get to share their gifts, and they're learning with each other alongside along the way. We meet bi-weekly, full moon, new moon ceremonies. It's called the Divine Healers Membership. I'm so happy to share more information with you. Just send me a DM at Angelica_feminine_healer. I'd be so happy to share more and to invite you as a guest to our one of our moon ceremonies. They're super healing. It breaks up energetic blockages. I'm a healer. I've been a healer for a decade, and I truly love guiding these and hearing the spiritual messages that come through. I give personalized readings for each person so that can really help them through whatever they're going through at that time. And I'm sending you so much love and light. We all got this together. We're all going through it together. If you love this episode, please, please, please share, comment, rate, review. It would mean the world to me, especially if you listen to more than one episode. Please, I would adore you if you did. And I will see you all next time.